Good evening, everyone. I'd like to welcome you to our webinar and thank you for joining us tonight. My name is Jennifer Bernsteel. I work for the Business and Education Partnership of Waterloo Region, and we're a local charity that is all about helping young people in our community explore and experience successful careers. I'm happy to host this event, which is designed to give you some valuable information about pursuing a career in the skilled trades, based on some very good research. After hearing this talk tonight, we hope to assist you with your steps on educating yourself with many services and resources and contacts that we will share as you continue to investigate pursuing the skilled trades as a career option. I would like to thank both of our local school boards for partners for sponsoring this event tonight, the Waterloo Catholic and the Waterloo Region Public School Boards have helped make this possible. Before we get started, I'm going to do a short land recognition. We acknowledge that the land we gather today is traditionally used by the Haudenosaunee, Anishinaabe, and Neutral peoples, and we acknowledge their enduring presence. Just a little bit of what's going to happen tonight. Jon Callegher, our keynote speaker, is going to deliver a 45-minute, really amazing presentation, including videos. It's quite engaging. Followed by a short message from our school board representatives, and at which time we will have a Q&A to finish off. I would like to let you know you can ask questions at any point during the session. You can type them in the Q&A feature at the bottom of your screen, and we are watching that and moderating it, and we will be answering the questions as the presentation is going on and sharing links. So please feel free to shoot your questions over. We ask that you keep them as general as possible. It is tricky to answer really specific things in such a large group. But if your question doesn't get answered live tonight, we will be sending out a compilation of all the questions when we send you an email in a few days after this is over, and it will have answers to all of the questions. Just to let everybody know, this session is being recorded for future use. A link will be sent to all of you who signed up next week. And for privacy issues, we have turned your video and audio off during the session. Okay. I am now going to introduce our keynote speaker, who we're very happy to have with us tonight. Jon Callegher is the Executive Director of JobTalks, which is a research and media agency that focuses on Canadian workers. Jon is on a mission to share his research about job satisfaction in the skilled trades in an age when such jobs are in very high demand. He has been invited to speak on the CBC radio, Global National, City Line at conferences across North America. Jon is also a professor in the School of Marketing at George Brown College in Toronto and has a PhD in sociology from the University of Waterloo. So we are very happy to have Jon here tonight to share his excellent knowledge. And we are just going to get started here. He is going to share his video. Jon, if you want to start talking, we will work on that.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. I just looking at the button to have sharing enabled. I'll be able to bring up some slides in a moment. I'm really happy to be here, and I'm really grateful for all parents and caregivers for spending some time this evening, as well as having real champions in the region, David Pope from Waterloo Region and Sedalia Taggart from Waterloo Catholic. Please take advantage of them being here. And as Jennifer mentioned, another champion in the region, to take advantage of that Q&A. So I'm going to show you some slides as I walk through the presentation, everyone. You should be able to see on your screen. It says there what Waterloo region parents need to know, rather caregivers need to know about careers in the skilled trades. I will, for the sake of sort of flow, use parents and caregivers interchangeably as I go through my slides and talk with you about what it's like being a parent in an unpredictable world. I'd like to start off whenever I deliver a presentation with sort of a starter question. This is my question for all of you today. Caregivers, parents, I'd like for you to answer this question. What is a parent's primary instinct toward their child? I want you to think about your answer to that question. Well, many might instinctively maybe say love. It's a common answer. If you think a little bit more about the answer to this question, it's not quite love, but it's rooted in love. It's to protect. Parents and caregivers in Waterloo region and everywhere want to protect their kids. And it's not just physical protection. When we say protect, you want to protect someone, you try to give them the best information you have. And for many parents, for a long time, the best information they had was if you want a good life, go to university. And this has been, pretty accurate in terms of that belief for many, many decades, but it started to change everyone. For anyone who's heard me speak before, started to change, I believe, around the COVID-19 pandemic when people, or rather parents in particular, started noticing certain careers that were considered essential or not and making the connection with essential careers and whether or not they actually required a university degree to thrive in the face of a crisis. And of course, nowadays we have another real serious change in our society, and it's artificial intelligence. And we're watching jobs be displaced, replaced, um, changed, altered in many ways really quickly, and it's even hard to keep track. So that's why a month ago, everybody, I launched a survey of 549 Ontario parents, a random sample, so a representative sample of parents across Ontario. And the results came in a few weeks ago. So you are among the first group to see the primary results. I'm very excited to share with you these findings. A big finding in consideration of the future, and of course, artificial intelligence and other changes that are happening around us, is that 65% of Ontario caregivers believe it is harder for young people to choose a career today than it was for them. Now, um, career pathways used to feel linear, and now they're not feeling so stable. And what's driving this? What are the top pressures, according to Ontario parents and caregivers? Job market uncertainty, technological disruption. We have the cost of education and cost of living, and decision overload, sort of a lack of guidance. So many options, not sure how to make the best decision. Now I'm going to show you a list of roles of jobs that are currently at higher risk of automation today. And these are the latest list from some reputable associations. And my intention, everyone, in showing you this list is not to make anyone here uncomfortable about their job. It is just to present some evidence and to also position us to look forward in a more future ready way. Okay, so here are, according to some of the most reputable sources, the jobs that are higher risk of automation today. I'm not going to read all of them out, but I encourage you just to sort of scan that list and ask yourself, what do you notice? Or rather, answer that question. What do you notice? What's the pattern in this list? So many will say, who look at this list, they are careers that involve maybe repetitive tasks. They are careers, in some cases, that involve information-based work. They are careers that are screen-based. And I'm going to say something a little controversial, but I really think it is something we really need to be thinking about now and we're not talking enough about it, is that if you look at this list, I would say all of the careers on this list have a higher proportion, much higher proportion of women occupying these jobs. And we're not talking about that enough. And that should be a really important part of future conversations. So, AI, everyone, is not going to affect all jobs equally. The higher risk of automation are routine, screen based jobs, and lower risk are those that are hands on site, that require human judgment and, frankly, physical work. On site, physical types of work are structurally harder to automate. It can't go any other way, at least for now. So parents are absolutely concerned about jobs changing mid-career, the high costs of pathways and uncertain returns, and of course, giving advice that may no longer apply. That can be very frustrating. So we can, as a result of doing this study that we just completed, and parents asking a whole battery of different kinds of questions, it enables a researcher to come up with what's called a segmentation or groups, right? According to some really interesting things that emerge in the data. And as a result, we've discovered that there are three different sort of types of parents or three different ways the caregivers are seeing the future. So, and you might find yourself likely in for sure in one of these groups, and you might see yourself bouncing in between these groups, depending on what you read in the news or watch, on your phone. So we have a group called the overwhelmed, the overwhelmed caregivers. I'm trying to reduce risk. My child is feeling the pressure. The future is very hard to read. We don't get many second chances. I don't want to, frankly, mess up. And this is a little more than a quarter, about a quarter of the parents in Ontario are kind of in this particular group. And then we have a group close to half are in this group we could call the steady middle. Things are mostly on track. Come what may, my child is doing okay. Things are going to work out. What worked for me, I don't see why it wouldn't work for my child in the future. And then we have a group that maybe you're here that are optimistic, really optimistic about the future in consideration of artificial intelligence and the effect it's going to have on careers. I'm thinking about what's next. My child is one who's confident and curious. I'm looking ahead, but not just straight ahead. I'm looking in all directions. I want to keep the doors open. Again, there we have about roughly a quarter of parents. All of these parents are, of course, simply responding to the assessment of risk as it currently is in 2026. And in my mind, that's the big question of 2026. What does risk look like? So I want to show you now something that really blew me away. It's the only way I can say it after the data came in. I asked a question for anyone who's seen me present before. My most screenshotted slide, my most photographed slide in presentations is when I reveal how parents answered the question, what makes a good job? What makes a good job? I asked this question in 2022. And the answer to this question, which I'm going to show you right now in a word cloud, the larger the word or phrase, the more common the answer. The reason this word cloud was so photographed and screenshotted is because it revealed that for parents, a good job wasn't any specific job. In the end, parents just wanted their kids to be fulfilled and also be paid well. And I think that was really fascinating. And that actually was heartwarming for many people who are considering jobs in the future. And it also was good news for skilled trades. I want to show you now what happened when I asked the same question again. I'm just going to read you the question in 2022 at the bottom. Considering the world today, in your opinion, what makes a good job? I asked the question again almost 4 years later. Similarly worded question. Considering the changes in the world today, what will make a good job in the future? Everybody, this is how parents start answering this question. They started naming specific jobs. I mean, I was not expecting this, but upon reflection, it makes sense. Parents today, in light of all that's going on, are thinking much more pragmatically about the future in terms of careers. And as you can see here, we have science, tech, engineering. The reason that phrase is so big is primarily around words that are associated with tech, technology, computers. But the big um, news there as well is skilled trades, as you can see underneath, followed by healthcare. So you have skilled trades essentially in second place, top of mind as the path to a good job in the future. So let's talk about some challenges that are facing younger workers today, which in part, I think, is informing that answer to the previous question, what makes a good job? Many parents are watching their young adult children spend more time sitting at work, excluding sitting and at home as a result of the shift post COVID-19, when many jobs went home. They're returning to work in many cases. At the same time, more and more sitting. Sitting is the new smoking. If you've heard that before, it's a great phrase. Prolonged sitting is linked with increased risk of heart disease, stroke, type 2 diabetes, all kinds of cardiovascular diseases. And one doesn't need to be a medical doctor to know that. It's just kind of common sense. But what is also common sense, what's happening at a younger age, is that more and more offerings post-secondary and pre-secondary, elementary school, secondary school, post-secondary school, are offered online learning. Don't have to leave the home. You don't have to go to a physical building to get an education. In other words, you can just sit at your computer and learn. There's the benefit there in terms of getting some education, but at the same time, the risk physically and, in my opinion, mentally as a result of poor physical health is something to keep in mind. What also is something to keep in mind is that future learning offerings, post secondary in particular, will be online as well. It is absolutely a way to create more classrooms without, more classrooms without building a physical classroom. More screen time, spending more time sitting, also more time spending on screens. We are spending young people today are spending 7 to 8 hours a day on their screen, 7 to 9 hours actually. It's not including schoolwork. This is way up from about 2 hours per day in the early 2000s. And among younger children, the time spent on screens is also increasing, and as a result, not having great experiences for young people, and mental health. Anxiety levels are up, as I'll talk about in a moment. I want everyone to check out a book by Jonathan Haidt called The Anxious Generation and just read about what happens to kids worldwide as a result of replacing the play-based childhood, being out in the world, with a phone-based childhood. It's not good news, unfortunately, and more kids, especially because of algorithms today, are getting hooked on their devices and spending more time on screens. And anxiety levels are up. Unfortunately, the benefits that we believed of the phone in keeping us connected and making us feel less lonely hasn't been the case. People are spending more and more time feeling by themselves, feeling anxious about the future, having so much information uh, streamed right into their devices that it's hard to even look at where they fit in the world. And of course, this is happening at a younger age. And as that book that I mentioned, The Anxious Generation, will point at the evidence globally, it is especially having a negative effect on young girls, including, unfortunately, parents and caregivers increase hospital visits as a result of self-harm. And there's a clear correlation between 2.5 or more uh, rate of visits to hospitals as a result of self-harm and the use of the front-facing camera and device and social media sites like Instagram and TikTok. Okay. Where does that fit with Ontario parents? We'll look at how Ontario parents are comparing daughters to sons. So we ask parents in Ontario to look at how they would describe their kids in lots of different attributes. Most cases, parents would describe sons and daughters pretty much the same. There are no, as we say in research, significant differences, but there are some double-digit differences that I think it's worth pointing out. This was actually kind of interesting at the top. Parents of daughters, caregivers of daughters compared to sons are more likely to say by 20% that their daughters like making things. It's not interesting compared to sons. 20% more likely to say of their daughters that they like making things compared to sons. That's really interesting. And by the way, that's good news for hands-on work in the future. But underneath is where it gets really disturbing, if you don't mind me using that phrase. By double digits, okay? Parents would describe daughters much more than sons as being a bit stressed, anxious, and overwhelmed, depressed and down, tired, drained, and exhausted. It's not good news. And we can make the connection between that and the use of social media. And sons, compared to daughters, likes to assemble, tinker, build, again, by double digits there. That's maybe not so surprising. And this is maybe not so surprising either, but it's also not good news. My son, compared to a daughter, is immersed in video games 38%. Everybody. Some parents are nodding their heads right now, going, yeah, I can see that. And the intention here is not to place judgment, it's just to confront the fact that if we're going to design a screen-based life, what doesn't it make sense to also design as part of that life a routine where you are not in front of a screen and you can have and you're not being seated all the time. My position has been for many years now that that isn't the type of work that one chooses in the future. And one of those work types, areas of work is the skilled trades. And I have had the opportunity to interview so many people in not only in across Ontario, also within your region, young people who are in the skilled trades and who are truly, truly flourishing. The skilled trades is embodied, social, physical, and mentored type of work environments. I'll say more about that shortly. So, as I mentioned, I've had the opportunity to interview hundreds of people. I've surveyed thousands in the skilled trades. And I can tell you that the skilled trades is a group of comprises a group of workers that are among the most satisfied. And you can go on the BEP website, the YouTube page. You can look up the previous times I've addressed this forum and where I've outlined the research that shows that skilled tradespeople are among the happiest workers. I take you through that survey of 1,000 Canadian workers, and I show you those statements, which I won't read here, but those statements about work that Canadians in all kinds of jobs had to reply, true for me, partly true, not true at all. And I reveal that as a result of asking Canadians in all kinds of jobs to respond to 50 statements, we get a segmentation of workers that looks like this, where we happen to have skilled tradespeople in a very happy group of workers that we call the comfortable. They're comfortable because they have work-life balance. They see the results of their work immediately. They get paid for overtime when they work overtime. They are earning earlier because they don't have high tuition, or you could argue very little to no tuition when they are starting in their educational journey. They also are, as a result, buying homes, condos, vehicles, starting families, going on vacations early in life because they can. So they are among the most satisfied workers. I encourage you to go on the website, the YouTube channel for BEP and watch that video and also the many others that are there. So a skilled trades career starts with an apprenticeship. An apprenticeship. Okay. And to keep it simple for those who need a little primer, an apprenticeship is when someone learns a skill trade under the direction of a mentor. You get guidance, you have someone helping you one to one or one to few, but also really important is that apprentices get paid. Registered apprentices in Ontario must be paid. So they get to earn while they're going to class and they earn while working. So I want to just emphasize here that apprenticeship is definitely not less education. Okay. Apprenticeship is differently structured education that also happens to bring with it a sense of character development, a sense of building up responsibility, okay, and a real benefit of having mentorship, which I happen to know that many young people in careers don't always get. Mentorship is built into the apprenticeship process. So I really love how the Ontario Youth Apprenticeship Program, OYAP, breaks out the skilled trades into these four major areas here. These are thumbnails of videos. I'm going to show you some videos toward the end of my presentation. In the motive power skilled trades, these are all of real young people in Ontario, including in the OYAP program. For example, auto body and collision damage repairs, automotive service technicians, truck and coach technicians, marine engine technicians. Who knew that was a career, right? Fixing up motorized watercraft. Pretty cool job. Uh, Services, skilled trades, a chef, a sous chef, hairstylist, horticultural technician. That's Alyssa in the bottom right. She's working at Niagara Falls Botanical Gardens through her apprenticeship. Started in high school. Anyone interested in child and youth worker, child development practitioner, the services skilled trades has the most variety. So make sure if you put in the Q&A, ask Sedalia or David from the school boards, which if you have a career in mind, ask them if it fits within the OYAP program. Industrial skilled trades, massive area of opportunity. For example, tool and die makers, hydraulic pneumatic mechanics, industrial electricians, welders. One certain benefit that we can say career-wise for skilled tradespeople in the future of artificial intelligence is, if you read in the news, the number of data centers that will need to be built. Absolutely, they're going to be requiring industrial electricians, certainly plumbers, and many other skilled tradespeople to build these massive data centers that are going to be the size of cities in the future. And construction skilled trades, massive area, general carpenters, HVAC technicians, heating, vetting, and air conditioning, tile setters, insulation installers. Look at how young they are, caregivers. Look at their faces. Many of these young people, again, started in high school, continued with their apprenticeships right into full-time careers. And that is Andrea at the top. Andrea started in a program called Specialist High Skills Majors. Then she got interested in carpentry. She entered an Ontario Youth Apprenticeship program at her school. Then she got hooked up with a company that builds luxury homes. At about 22, 23 years old, Andrea is a full-on general carpenter, everybody. Are you blown away by that, parents and caregivers? I am. She can retire at 48 years old. Oh my goodness. So, despite all of that, there's a cognitive dissonance that I think is has been present. It's lessening now. We'll say why in a moment. But cognitive dissonance, if you're familiar with that phrase, is that uncomfortable state of mind when someone has conflicting beliefs about the same thing. I see cognitive dissonance among many parents who will freely acknowledge that the skilled trades, absolutely, they're excellent careers, stable careers. Um, they are well paying, they have great job security. I'll even acknowledge that they're happy in their work. They're awesome jobs, just not for my child. Just not for my child. And this can be as a result of media depictions, maybe, of skilled tradespeople, or simply and just stereotypes that have been long held. It can be a variety of reasons, but I really believe it started to change around COVID-19 and job security, seeing which jobs were secure. And increasingly now, I think it's also changing. Um, there's also a temptation to say, I want my child to work smarter, not harder. I've often said that I used to say this, but I don't anymore. It's nice to say because it rhymes, right? Work smarter, not harder. The more we repeat this, work smarter, not harder, the more we devalue hard work. How about we acknowledge that? The Olympics are on right now, right? The Olympics are on. Go Canada. Guess what? Those Olympians worked hard to get to where they were. And the reason actually we put posters up on our walls of people that we admire is, whether we realize it or not, because they worked so hard to get to where they are. So instead of saying work smarter, not harder, how about we recognize that excellence is in both, working smarter and harder? And for the many young people that I've had the privilege of interviewing all across Ontario, they're earning at an early age, right? They're advancing quickly due to a shortage often in their field. Some of them are even starting businesses and employing people in their mid to late 20s, and they're flourishing and they're making their parents really proud as a result. And yeah, they didn't need to go to university. They just continued with an apprenticeship, often right out of high school into full-time careers. Also, parents related here to cognitive dissonance, parents who say, my child is university bound. They'll say, when I ask them to describe their child, that my child is interested in math and science, they have problem solving skills, have hand-eye coordination, enjoy outdoor activities, and they have creative and artistic skills. And that is really great. These are great characteristics. More than half of university-bound parents of university-bound children would say they have these characteristics. But I think you know where I'm going, right? These university-bound traits are also skilled traits too. Absolutely skilled tradespeople get to apply math and science, problem-solving skills. They apply hand-eye coordination. They get to be outdoors, and they have creative and artistic skills that they get to apply every day. Let's look at this answer to this question from last month from parents all across the province. What do you think is the most advisable or sensible path to a good job? Everyone, look closely at this chart as we see university at 29%, and right underneath it is apprenticeship, up from 19% when I asked the question about 4 years ago. So parents are, again, looking at risk. This is also really interesting when thinking about their child specifically. If your child, right, or I can frame it as I wrote it here, if my child, right, pursued the skilled trades, I would be in 2022, just 58% of parents said they would be comfortable in some way. And in 2026, 78% of parents would be comfortable if their child entered the skilled trades. And that represents, everyone, in my opinion, a cultural shift. So parent comfort with the skilled trades has rose 20 percentage points since 2022. So parents are recalibrating risk, and they're responding to structural changes in society. And I think for anyone here who has been feeling that, you now have confirmation that other parents across the province have been feeling the same way. So their parents or caregivers are paying attention to what kinds of pathways then will build real skills early for their child, what might keep their options open for them, make them have transferable skills in the future, what of course will lead to a good life, and what will, minimize financial risk. And that, of course, is where we come to this topic of tuition debt, which really shouldn't be ignored in thinking about post-secondary pathways because they come at a cost. The average tuition debt in Ontario at graduation from college is $16,800, and university $30,800. That's from Statistics Canada 2024. About half of university and college graduates will have some kind of tuition debt. And the way that plays out is in the headlines that we see every day. I'd like to, go online and find some of the more recent ones. Here are some more recent ones where parents are certainly as a result, expected to financially support their children into adulthood. Global news, 92% of Ontario parents, excuse me, post-secondary students are stressed about money. CBC, the numbers don't lie. The struggle is real for Gen Z students. Financial Post, Canadians' new debt record hits new record, and millennials and Gen Z are leading the way. What's the driver here, everyone? It is being driven by student debt and, of course, mortgage, housing related debt, getting in maybe over their head a little early. Well, looking at the value of a university degree, according to parents, I was really curious about this question, especially now that a university term paper, a project can be written by artificial intelligence in 10 seconds. I was going to say 2 minutes, but that's taking too long. So when artificial intelligence can effectively do the type of work that's expected of university bound students, academic students, what is therefore the value of that credential? University certainly is in a place where they have to demonstrate more value, and it comes out in how parents are essentially split, as you can see on the screen, on whether or not it is of good value or excellent value and poor or fair, about 48% to 47%. In 2022, when I asked this question, that 48% was 52%. So it has dropped by 4%. And what is the tuition fee for a registered apprenticeship? Does anybody know? Maybe some parents are here and really interested in that answer, everybody. It's just $400 to $600 per calendar year. And the tuition is more of a classroom, sort of a classroom fee by the ministry. And the point here is just to emphasize for everyone watching, especially those who might be familiar with this feeling, that financial debt really amplifies anxiety, doesn't it? Well, I'm here to tell you that apprenticeship reduces financial risk, in part, not only because of the low tuition fee, but also that registered apprentices must be paid. So they start earning. Earnings begin immediately. And after that learning journey, apprentices will have ideally paid back their debt and have money in the bank as they go on to full-time careers. So 5 reasons to support the apprenticeship pathways in my last section here, and as I show you some video clips as I promised. One great reason to support apprenticeship pathways, caregivers, is that your child will get early work experience. I want you to hear from 3 young ladies who are in their Motive Power apprenticeship. Just hear from them talking about the sort of work experience that they're getting. That's different from common types of work experience like folding clothes, serving coffee, and other types of experience that are available to teenagers today. Here, this will set them apart from others. Here we go. This is my first clip.
At my apprenticeship as an electrician, we test wire connections and voltages, troubleshoot electrical issues, and wire electronic components.
I'm currently working in the wood mill, and a lot of what I'm doing right now is just observing different types of work, different machines, how they work, how to use them safely, and all aspects of carpentry.
What I like most about my apprenticeship is the learning experience. I've learned a lot of things that I would otherwise never get the chance to learn in a classroom setting, and it's been a really unique experience.
I mean, isn't that great? To getting a unique kind of work experience at an early age and setting yourself apart from others, in the pile of resumes. I want to take a moment also to remind everyone again about the Q&A feature. You can go ahead and ask a question, especially ones that are regional specific or school board specific. You'll get an answer from your representatives in the Waterloo Catholic and Waterloo Region boards. So
at my apprenticeship
now, another reason to keep the skilled trades on the table, support apprenticeship pathways, is this idea of applied learning, sometimes referred to as hands-on learning. Younger people, when I talked with them, their hands will shoot up when they say that they do enjoy sort of touching and tinkering in the way that they learning with their hands instead of being seated often at a screen. I also want to just say something about applied learning, especially hands-on learning, and how it relates to intelligence. I want to put to bed this myth that people who work with their hands are not smart. Okay, let's just quickly define what intelligence is, everyone. Intelligence is the ability to see patterns. And anyone who takes an IQ test will quickly notice that. It's just pattern recognition. What comes next in the sequence? A, B, C, or D? Next question. We tend to celebrate those who maybe see more patterns. They're comfortable seeing patterns in words, history, maybe spreadsheets, and we say they're the smart ones, the so-called academic types. And they are smart. But let's also remember that there are people who just happen to see more patterns out in the real world. How do you get water from really far away and bring it into an entire community and to individual homes and buildings and schools and rooms within all of those structures and make it clean? How do you take ingredients that are so separate and somehow fuse them together using heat and other technology to make them edible and nutritious? How do you build roads and bridges across different types of terrain so that we can have an economy, so that we can see each other face to face? I could go on and on. How does the electrical grid work? How do we, how are we able to cut hair in a way that doesn't upset people? Have you ever tried to cut someone's hair? I did that during COVID. My wife was not very happy because it took me 2 seconds to cut her hair. It takes pattern recognition to properly layer hair. So hands-on learning, real world patterns being seen out in the world and enjoying solving real world problems, balanced intelligence, just as important as academic intelligence. So here now from a few young people and their OYAP apprenticeship, just talking about the benefit they get from sort of hands-on applied learning. This is my second clip.
The thing I like most about being an apprentice is you get to do both. You not only get to stand back and watch the mechanics, but you also get to be with them. You get to stand beside the mechanic and learn how they're doing it. You get to learn information that isn't in your textbook. You get to learn hands-on material that no one can teach you but a mechanic.
One interesting thing about the trades is the variety of work that I get to do, from the type of material I work on, the tools I use, or the jobs I'm doing. Every day there's something different, and I'm always working on something new.
I really like how Connor, who's a general machinist, said every day something different, every day something new. He gets to be out in the world getting that kind of movement and activity. Another great reason to support apprenticeship pathways is that your child will have structured co-op support, right? You sign up for OYAP program through sort of the co-op process. That means having teacher support and being in the presence of not only a co-op teacher, but also having them check in with you. So I want you to hear from a few young people who are on their apprenticeship, letting you know their experience of having a co-op teacher check in with them. And also keep in mind, that means that they're not being just left out on their own while they're on their apprenticeship. Here we go. This is my third clip.
I secured my co-op placement by talking to my co-op teacher, Mr. Polillo, and expressing I wanted to try a career in the trades. He brought me to the owner, Kyle, and he gave me an interview and then brought me onto Arc Electrical. Mr. Polillo supported me during my placement by checking on me, making sure that I was okay. He does visits with us just to make sure that we're safe and happy with our placements, and he made sure that this was the right choice for me.
My co-op teacher supported me by always staying in contact with me, especially throughout the first few weeks of the co-op, making sure that I enjoyed it and that it was something I wanted to do, as well as she also texted me throughout the co-op to let me know that if I wasn't enjoying it, there are other options that I can explore.
All right. Fourth reason to support apprenticeship pathways is that your child will get exposure to business. I think this is something we're not talking about enough, but we should, especially as many skilled tradespeople, those who are professionals who are running businesses, are aging and starting to retire, and maybe their kids aren't interested in taking over the business. they're in a position to sell that business to someone else who has a business mindset, but also who can appreciate the nature of that particular skilled trade. So young people, if they're in a shop, they might have a little exposure to, in a smaller shop, the owner themselves, or maybe someone who's working closely with the owner, learn about things like customer relationship management, inventory, and more. I want you to hear in my second last clip. I really like this clip because it features at the beginning two people who were young, and they graduated from high school, having completed their OYAP apprenticeship and continued into finished their apprenticeship out of OYAP, and then became skilled tradespeople in their fields, and then started their own businesses and are now hiring people from their school board. Full circle. Then you'll hear from two young women who are encouraged by the possibility of being successful in business in the skilled trades. This is my second last clip. Here we go.
When I was in high school, the apprenticeship program taught me a lot of things like patience, perseverance, and risk-taking. Now that I have my own business, I decided to partner with OYAP because I think it's a great way to get the students out of the classroom and into the workforce.
All throughout high school, I was very hands-on mechanical. I took auto body and automotive, did a co-op program in each. I found that automotive was more interesting to me, found that that was my direction in the trades, and started an apprenticeship right after high school. As an employer, we partnered with OYAP to bring youth into our trade. I feel that the trade needs young people being injected into it, and at that time this is the best way to bring people out of school seamlessly into our apprenticeship programs.
What made me interested in the skilled trades was the opportunity to start your own business and to be financially free at a younger age.
I love the people I'm working with and I'm learning something new every day. What I hope to do in the future is have my own women's masonry company where I can teach women the craft but also introduce girls into the trade.
It's hard not to be inspired by these stories, right, everybody? Lastly, very quickly, earning while learning. That's a rhyme that I like to hear. Going back, of course, to that tuition debt, the fact that registered apprentices get paid is a benefit for any parents, caregivers watching. How many of you went to your post-secondary pathway and were earning money along the way? Or were you, in some cases, dreading graduation because that involved you having to pay back a student loan, start writing checks rather than cashing checks? So great benefit. One reason to keep the skilled trades on the table. So early work experience, all in one screen, applied learning, structured co-op support, exposure to business, and of course, earning while learning. I just want to leave you with one final clip. These are from those three young ladies at the beginning, just giving a nice endorsement, I think, of the OYAP program.
When I started my apprenticeship, my family supported me because they knew it was the best option for me as a hands-on learner. And I've always done better in my tech classes than I did the academic ones, and the trades gives me a hands-on experience.
Overall, my friends and family were very supportive. A lot of my academic friends were a little bit confused at this decision at first, but once they saw what I do and how I work, they understood that this is the best option for me.
Thanks to OYAP, I've made so many connections, which I hope to use in the future to be able to get a full-time apprenticeship.
I'd recommend OYAP to other students because it's an awesome experience and you get to learn a lot about working in a workplace and about yourself while you're doing it.
I would recommend OYAP to other students because I think it's very important to explore all opportunities before making a decision.
All right, everybody. I mean, final word, the skilled trades is a pathway that is aligned with real skill development, lower automation risk, high reported job satisfaction, lower tuition by far, and of course, early income. These are all advantages in an AI-driven future. I am really happy to say that I ended exactly at the time at 7:18, which is what I was supposed to end. And I consider myself the opener for David and Sedalia from the Waterloo Region and Catholic Board to answer any questions and give you some information. Over to you, Jennifer.
Yes, thank you, John. Yes, you're right on time. That was great. Yeah, a really fascinating presentation. It's so much information, so much great research that you've shared. I think everyone's got a lot to think about, so thank you, John. We are going to turn it over to the school board reps now. Sedalia Taggart with Waterloo Catholic School Board and David Pope with Waterloo Regional Public School Board are going to share some information more about co-op.
For students to access OYAP, they need to enter through co-op. And so co-op is the best experiential learning option for students who are wanting to learn more about the skilled trades and wanting to gain that hands-on experience. And it's not to say that they're committing to a career in the skilled trades, but it's their entry point to try out a job, see if they like it, build their skill, build their connections, and go from there. So students taking co-op is the starting point. From co-op, they can be registered as OYAP participants. They're given a lot of support through the school board, through the Ministry of Labor, with special funding for personal protective equipment, safety training, and all of that. And then if students are fortunate enough to be able to get a training agreement while still in high school, they can begin their apprenticeship right out of high school. So that is the ultimate goal for students wishing to pursue a career in the skilled trades. So co-op is offered to students in grades 11 or 12, and it doesn't matter what grade students take co-op in. There are a lot of students who take co-op multiple times in both grades, and that just gives them more experience. And sometimes they want to try one trade and then they want to switch to a different one. So that also comes with advanced planning, making sure that students are talking to their guidance counselor about their career goals and about what they wish to do, so that there is that room available on their timetable and that they can pursue those career options. We'll see if Dave got his microphone hooked up now.
Is this any better?
Yes, much.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect. Sorry about that. It obviously was working before, but not now. So, yes, thank you, Sedalia. You basically said what I was going to say. The other thing I like to highlight is a lot of people think that if you're thinking skilled trades, you think I'm going to apply to a college and take a college program. The fastest way into apprenticeship is to find an apprenticeship. So market yourself, reach out to companies that are hiring apprentices. The goal is to not have to pay tuition, is like John said, is you earn while you learn. Find a company willing to sign you as an apprentice so you can start working right away, start earning money right away, and you're learning on the job instead of in a classroom. So there's nothing wrong if you choose to go through the college pathway, but the goal of apprenticeship is that you earn on the job and you earn your money, or you learn on the job and you earn on the job right away. So a lot of students do get pushed into that college pathway, but just your ultimate goal should be trying to find that apprenticeship right up front. And that's where OEF is the huge benefit of letting you potentially find that apprenticeship, making that employer connection during co-op, where you're out working in that industry. And even if your employer can't hire you, it's a big industry where lots of people are working together and they might know somebody that's looking for an apprentice. So again, taking co-op is probably your best option. I've always used the phrase, try a career before you buy a career. So it's free in high school. You get to try that career, whether it's in the skilled trades or not. Co-op lets you try that career, and you're making those really important industry connections before you spend a lot of money in post-secondary education, or you try to just blindly start an apprenticeship after high school. It gives you that huge leg up just to try it while you're in high school.
Yeah. Would there be anything else you want to add, Dave and Sedalia, before we just start taking questions? Or
Sure. I did add the links to the provincial OYAP site and to our both of our school boards OYAP sites. They basically all have the same information, and it's the same program province-wide. Just a few slight variances between boards, but all in all, they're the same programs. We have specialty trade union programs. We work with some of our trade union partners, and as well as some non-unionized partners. So again, your first step is to when you're doing course selection, make sure you talk to your guidance counselor. And even if you haven't thought about co-op, go find a co-op teacher in your school. And again, talk to a co-op teacher about the different community partners that they work with, and have students go try a career with.
The only other thing that I can add is that students should also take as many technology courses as they can fit on their timetable, because the skills of learning how to work with tools, being able to identify tools, learning how to work safely in a shop, will help them once they go into co-op. The employer will already see that they come with experience. And so employers are looking for that. Students who have shown initiative and taking the right courses that will guide them into the trades, and that are willing to, put forward the effort. So taking technology courses is great. Mathematics is also very, very important. Like Dave was saying, we partner with our union partners from the region, and they do look at mathematics and how kids' understanding of math. It's important for the trades, so don't give up on math in grade 10. Pursue that, work hard at that. That will pay off. And I think that's all I can suggest right now.
Great. Okay. Thanks everybody. We couldn't do this without our partners at the school board, so I want to thank you both, and I want to thank Jon for being such a great keynote speaker for us. So thank you everyone for making this happen. We are going to open it up to questions if there are any. We could try to answer them live here for you. We did get some coming in throughout, which were answered in the chat. If anyone wants to look now, unless we get some new ones here. Maybe we can just read one of those answers out. Oh, we have a new one. Can you please elaborate how math helps in co-op? Would someone like to care to answer that one?
Sure, I'll answer that one. So not all co-op placements are alike. So depending on where students are placed, math will come into play in various ways. If students are hoping to go into the skilled trades, understanding math concepts is very important. So for example, if they want to become a general carpenter, there will be a lot of measurements, a lot of looking at drawings and being able to transfer that to real life. We work with our union partners at the UA, the Plumbers Union, and math is also very important there. They come into play for a lot of the work that they do. So that's, and a lot of the programs now in secondary schools do offer technology math. They integrate all concepts into one course. And so students should look at taking some of those courses.
Thank you. Okay, we have a comment and we have another question. Dave or Sedalia, will you answer this one as well? Okay, great.
Yeah,
here we go.
I can answer this one. So basically the question is I've been asking people in the industry for a summer job for my son to see if he would like a career, but no one will take him because he can't go on a job site. And that is very difficult for employers to do, and that's where co-op makes things a whole lot easier. So students that are going on construction sites, so we provide safety training, safety equipment, including working at heights training, which many construction sites require. So that's where if a student is in co-op, whether it's summer school co-op or during the semester, is if they are going to be trying a construction career, is the best example there, is we make sure they have the things they need so that they are ready to be on site with all their proper PPE. Like I said, we do pre-safety training, and they'll do their working at heights training, which is required. And then they are pretty much ready to be on the job site. And then the employer does their site-specific training as well. The other thing I was going to mention is just for everyone to think about is, I know Jon mentioned it, there's 144 apprenticeable trades in Ontario. So a lot of people, when they think skilled trades, they might think electrician, plumber, millwright, like the top 5 or 6 trades. Make sure you take the time to look at all the other apprenticeable trades in Ontario. There is so many out there that if you haven't thought of it, many other people haven't thought of it. And that might be a trade that's even easier to get into because there's so much variety out there that people aren't thinking about. So again, if it's on a construction site, there's probably potentially like 50 trades on that construction site. Figure out what some of the other trades are, and that might be an easier way to get into them.
Great. Any other questions? You can send your questions in after the fact too. Email them in. We will be sending out all these answers in our follow-up email. I think that's probably all the time we have for questions live. Thank you for the great questions. I just wanted to also thank the parents and caregivers for registering for this event and investing the time to learn more about the skilled trades tonight as a viable and rewarding career. And I hope you learned a lot of really good information that will help you going forward. I would also just like to give a little plug for the BEP, which is where I'm from, the Business and Education Partnership. We do lots of free career-related events in Waterloo region for high school students. So keep in touch with us. You will be getting a follow-up email from me with a link. You could sign up to follow us on social media. We have another event coming up on March 4th, which is just a few weeks away. It's going to be also with Jon. It'll be the same group you see tonight, but the presentation will be more geared towards speaking directly to students. So if you attended tonight and you liked what you heard and you want your student to come back and listen, please sign up for the March 4th event. It's being promoted through both school boards. You can go to their websites or Instagrams, and we will also include that in our follow-up email. We're going to send you a link with a short survey. We would really love it if you could fill that out for us. And you will get a link to this recording in a few days. We need some time to process that. But thank you everyone for coming tonight. It's been a really worthwhile, valuable evening, and I hope you did enjoy it and learn a lot. So thank you, Jon, David, and Celia again. Everyone have a wonderful evening.